Sorry?
It's still streaming.
Who are you talking about, PMARS?
Go on, Anthony, you're very quiet.
Who are you talking about, PMARS?
No, Poncho Pete.
Oh.
I just passed the link round to the people that were in yesterday's hangout from yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess your loyalty has been rewarded.
Yeah.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah. Nathan, you're gonna have to start with an apology for everybody that's waiting for you to join. You know, like 2 o'clock starts.
Nah, I'm not going to make any apologies for that.
You should address it.
Sunday late.
Why?
Apology accepted.
You needed time
I wasn't
to go
apologising.
to church, okay?
It's one of them.
And Nathan, by the way, just to
My
let
wife
you know,
wanted a coat. You know, wife comes first, I'm afraid. Sorry.
I know. You have your fans are waiting.
Apology accepted.
There wasn't an apology there. He was telling
There
us
was,
to
I did say sorry. Hey, Zinda.
Hey, Nathan, you know Neil deGrasse Tyson?
No, who's he?
I found his official contact me email address, so I've emailed him through the astrophysics place that he works in. I'm requesting an hour's long worth of hangout or Skype call with him, so I can challenge him on these, you know, these 5 questions that I'm asking, because I'm going to see if I can get any, you know, because that one person that's in the document already, I thought, well, what stops me from putting people like Flat Earth Math in it? Not putting them in it, but putting their answers in it. And I thought, fuck that, why don't I just ask Neil deGrasse himself and see what he says? So I've actually officially asked him to give me an hour so I can ask him these 5 questions and see what answers he gives, because I don't think he'll be able to give the proofs.
Are you expecting an answer at all? Really?
If I sent it from a Hotmail address, but if I'd have sent it from the university address, yeah, I would have expected an answer. From Hotmail, perhaps not.
Yeah. How is your project going? I mean, maybe you already mentioned it some shows ago, but obviously I didn't hear it. So
No,
are you making progress?
I haven't really mentioned it because I haven't started it yet. Officially, my first class is like
bollocks. It's just ripped everybody off. We all know it.
My first class is this week. But I've started writing out all my answers to it, like even though I don't have the substantive law bit yet. But I'll be getting that in the next week or two. But I'll start this week. So
yeah.
Nathan,
so
what town do you
like
live in?
we're starting to go back to space, right?
Leamington, isn't it?
You are, Anthony.
I was just asking what town you live in. It's Leamington, isn't it? Leamington's far.
We're not in a different time zone.
I've just seen how far away you are from it.
America.
7 miles.
It's the same time here as it is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What time did you start? 4 o'clock?
I've put it up for a 4 o'clock start, yeah.
Cool.
It's hilarious because my my operating system is set to American, so
Why?
like, it suddenly switches like wait,
Why do you have your thing set to American?
because I like that interface better. Otherwise, everything's gonna be in Dutch. I hate that shit.
Because he thinks he's a septic. That's why.
He thinks he's eclectic.
Septic.
Oh, septic.
Yeah.
What?
Yank. Septic tank. Yank.
Yeah, Cockney rhyming slang. Septic.
I don't know. I just like I'm used to. I was raised with Commodore 64, and that's all just. It's all basic American interface, and I like that.
And if you're anti-American, you're antiseptic, which gets shortened to Listerine. So if you said I'm not being Listerine, that means I'm not being antiseptic. Septic tank, yank. I'm not being anti-American. Not being Listerine.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't worry about it.
That only Londoners understand, really. It's like a language in a language.
Okay. Well, there's language in a language with Dutch as well, but yeah, you actually have to be able to understand Dutch.
But we're dumb here. We only speak one language in England, mostly. Apart from the people who come from elsewhere. So we just invent languages like Cockney rhyming slang.
For example, you know the word fallacy, right? Well, in Dutch, Phallus means dick in a very
Yeah, phallic.
nobility, very tidy way. Very.
It's the same everywhere, Arwin.
All this shit, you know.
Yeah, phallus.
How well you do in the army is denoted by how many penises you have on your arm.
Right.
Nathan, I already asked Anthony about this. Have you ever been to the speaking corner in London, or have you ever thought about filming people there and talking about flat Earth? Because I think it would be a good location to go there. Yeah.
Anthony, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
I already asked him. I already asked Anthony. Yeah.
I've got absolutely no desire to do that. That's what I did when I was a teenager. So not in London particularly, but I'd go out and do street performance.
Yeah.
And it's cold, and no.
Yeah.
That's why I've got a YouTube channel.
It has become cold, isn't it? Here too.
I mean,
Ice on the roof even.
well,
Sorry, have you guys all put your clocks back?
oh, is it like time thing?
Yeah, we're in Greenwich Mean Time now. We've just come out of British summertime. If you look on my thumbnail at the bottom of the Hangout, you'll see how we put the clocks back in Liverpool.
Nice.
Hey guys, I have been
Hey,
thinking.
Jose.
I want to interject it now before we
Whoa,
get into
full
the
house
discussion.
already.
But I was thinking, since the moon seems to be changing suddenly from one day to another, for example, it would be interesting to. Yeah, it's going to be a more complex setup, but like, go with a plane and go with the curve of the Earth. No, just over the equator, basically following the moon in a steady pace, and then keep filming it across the day where it's supposedly gonna switch, and then just see what happens if like you keep it steady, and then at some point just suddenly the moon just bloop, out of nothing just becomes larger. That would be amazing to see that.
You're going to need a big plane with a big engine and a big fuel tank.
No, you need a small plane.
Well, it needs to be a big engine and a big fuel tank.
No, it needs to be a small engine.
But you have to carry
You
a
just
shit
need to go steady speed mostly, and go very long. So no big engines. No, it doesn't need to go very fast.
No, not very fast. It just
Just
needs to
steady.
have enough. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so no one's got a plane now, in, so it's a lovely idea, but it's not going to work, is it?
Well, nobody's got a plane. I don't know. Sometimes people come on the show.
Hey, Jose, are you there?
Yo,
It
yo.
would be
I
just
see somebody's got your
interesting to
P900 sorted.
Yeah, man, amazing.
Fucking hell, man, that's good. I was
Somebody
gonna.
hooked me up. Yeah, somebody paid to Jaron, and I sent him the address, and he's gonna mail it to me on Monday. So I'm excited.
Do you know, I had my wallet in my hand the other day, and I was literally going to make a donation, and then someone told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, put my card away, put my wallet away."
Yeah, amazing. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I got $150 of the GoFundMe. So I already saying the show yesterday. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna buy a tripod and an extra SD card, extra battery. If you know, whatever I can use it. Just
Yeah, but the problem
Use
is
it all.
you've got to get that money. You've got to get that amount, otherwise you don't get any of the money.
yeah, no, I lowered the GoFundMe. I lowered to the amount I get. I got 150, so I lowered it to that 150. So I already reached the goal.
Excellent.
150.
So is that enough then for you to do what you want to do then? Oh no, you need money for fuel though, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be. I mean, that's gonna be in the future. You know, my wife just gonna start working tomorrow, so I think we're gonna be all right to cover for the trip in
Very
later on.
wise. Put
But
the
the
wife out to
P900
work.
is a good.
Very wise.
What?
Get the wife to pay for the petrol. Very wise. Put the wife out to work.
You know how it goes.
Yep. I love my Chinese rich wife.
What?
I love my
I
Chinese.
love my
rich wife.
hard-working Chinese wife.
Yeah, the tripods are expensive. I was looking them up, but I can get me one for like 60 or 80 bucks. Decent, you know, at least solid enough to hold a P900.
I do have a tripod, but I find that the point of contacts on the tripod are naff because they only have one little screw thread. I thought you're better off with a beanbag or a pillow and just putting it on the floor.
Yeah,
and
you
lying
told
on it.
me. Yeah, true. Because I got one, it's small. I bought it's the cheapest one, like $12 in Walmart. The only thing is it doesn't have the smooth. When I move it side by side and up and down, it's not smooth. It go like click, click, click. So I lose the focus, every time I try to turn it around.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to fly to Thailand in like three days, and I'm going to look for the curve. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make sure that the windows aren't like fish eye windows. So I'm going to see how it looks at the ground and in the air. Maybe I can see the curve, or
Now
maybe
you don't
not.
need to fish. You just need to look right past the bottom of it because it's usually the most curved there.
Yeah,
The bottom
maybe.
of the window.
I mean,
In
I
the
have.
edges, in the close, yeah, in the edges,
Yeah.
left or right to the glass is where it curves really good.
Wait.
I mean, I heard I heard some friends saying that they have seen the curve on 10,000 meters height.
Yeah.
I've never noticed it. Maybe I will see it, or maybe not. Let's see.
You going? Where in Thailand you going? You should go hang out with Phuket World. He's down in not far from Bangkok.
Oh yeah, we are going to land in Bangkok. My roommate is Thai, so he will pretty much a little bit dictate where to go, because he knows the country a little more than I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we'll see.
Yeah. So what do you know? You're gonna go up north or down south to the beaches?
First, we are going to go a little bit more north than Bangkok, but we won't go in the jungle part, right?
Yeah.
We will go south then, pretty much. I think where the most tourists go. I mean, Thailand is kind of European infected,
Yeah.
I would say. So yeah, sadly, we will focus more on the touristic part.
Yeah, that's cool. You'll probably go to Koh Samui. That's a really nice island, and Koh Phanang.
Yeah, I'm going to watch out for islands that shouldn't exist. Line of sight, right? That should be behind the curve. Maybe I will find some. I see. So, I mean, the P900 is like the perfect choice for flat earther, right? Because it has a so good zoom.
Well, let me see.
Or
That's a good point. Let me look at the distance between two islands that I'm familiar with. Oh boy, yeah. Oh, look at that globe.
If you can spot two islands that he can see with just in one shot, like from the high distance, and then you can extrapolate it. I mean, you can measure how much it is if it's 20, 25, 30 miles. So you should catch that little tiny supposed evasive curve left and right.
Well, I mean, I can still claim those are mirages when they should be hidden. So yeah.
No, I mean, if you got in one shot, one little island in the left, one little island in the right, and they are separated by 30 miles away, there should be a curve in there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have to look at this more objective.
10 minutes and we'll be starting.
Let me see. Koh Samui.
Yeah, I see Ranti put a video very, very early, but I haven't watched it yet.
Not seeing anything today.
Yeah, Ranti did a live stream. He put a short video and then a live stream, maybe 20 or 25 minutes long.
Oh, cool.
Doing something with an egg with a little happy face. That's the thumbnail is what I saw.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, they were talking about it on the Gem Panda Discord. I was there for a little bit, and they were talking like Ranti is showing a lot of distortion in a short amount of distance, because the egg is getting all mirage and shit. So like, oh shit, I gotta watch that, But you're not gonna like it. I just looked for like 1 minute the stream, and he was talking about this experiment is gonna show this, and I want to do this to replicate Nathan's experiment. I said like, oh, Nathan is not gonna like that.
Great. Thank him for the advert, whoever you were talking about.
I've seen the video from, I think, the non sequitur before, where the plain truth debated rhetoric. I've just listened a little bit to it, and the plain truth did a good job because the rhetoric was completely prepared, and he didn't expect to even debate at this stage. They had to pull him in because the other flat earther just went off, or so. He didn't show up. So at the end, I've heard the good arguments from both sides, and I think, given the circumstances, the plain truth did a great job at debating him. So yeah, maybe you want to watch it too, Jose, or so.
Can you provide the link?
Yeah.
Silent J.
Yeah, I don't give those guys any views. They're a bunch of tools.
Well, I mean, the moderators don't interrupt. They don't argue. Usually, they just look that everyone gets his fair share of the time, right? So everyone can talk about as long as the other person. So I think this is a good concept.
They're very biased. I mean, I went to one of their live videos, and they wouldn't take my question. It was ridiculous.
Oh, really? Okay. They made a note. Yeah.
I tried typing. I typed a question once and I didn't get addressed. I repeat the question and I put the hashtag and non sequitur show so they can address it. And one of the moderators, they typed my name like Jose Gonzalez. Stop spamming the chat. I'm like, dude, I just put the hashtag with the name of the channel so they can address my question. They told me again, stop spamming the chat. I said, like, fuck, I'm logging off, you know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously on this show, many more things count as argument or as proof than on Nathan's show, because they allow pretty much everything, every argument, and then it's just up to the other person if he accepts this or not. You know, arguments that people here will consider, you know, that this isn't real science, or like presupposing things, and or everything like this counts on the show. So of course, I think that all earthers have some advantages on the non sequitur show regarding to this one.
They'll allow them to use fallacies.
Yeah, for example, they allow the fallacies. It's up to the other person who they're debating if this person wants to accept it or not, right?
Gotcha.
The moderators don't say anything about this, so you can see it as unfair or not.
I see this like a advanced science class, like very freely. So there's a Professor Nathan. Let's say there's Professor Nathan in the front of the university, and they say, "All right, guys, coming in, just talk, you know, present whatever your points, you know, let's talk about science, let's talk about proof and evidence. And if somebody messed up, he's gonna be called out, you know. So you are allowed to talk as long as you present a real point, you know, and don't be calling or calling bullshit, you know, on anybody, because everybody's gonna get confused. So it's a free kind of talk show. You can make your point, you can just talk as long as you don't be claiming shit that you cannot back up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of it is subjective what is considered as shit or not. I mean, then for people, some kind of evidence is enough. For some people, it isn't. So it is kind of hard to distinguish those things.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
I mean, for most people on Earth, it is already evidence if it's just cited by NASA, for example, right? That they went to Jupiter and they put this Cassini probe, and then at the end they just smashed it into the planet. For some people, it is already evidence, and this is a reliable source. For more skeptic people, of course, it isn't, because they are the only provider of this information, right? So at the end, it is really subjective what you count as evidence and what not.
Yeah, and some people that have no idea about this argument, they say like, "Flat Earth, are you crazy?" I mean, nobody nobody mentioned flat Earth. Nobody say nothing about flat Earth in school, university, in all our lives. Nobody mentioned flat Earth. So the Earth is a globe because that's what I learned and that's what I know. Period. They don't even want to hear about it. So okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that because it's kind of hard step to take from globe Earth to flat Earth. I mean, this implies that everyone lies to you, or the government lies to you. Many people lie to you. Everything you thought you knew is wrong, right? And as some certain, and then you don't know anything anymore about the world. So yeah, I can understand why many people keep away from this.
There's been a few people speculate that this is a, how can I phrase it, like a slow release, like a controlled rollout. In other words, if you just dropped it on the 9 o'clock news, you've all been lied to, the Earth's flat, then a lot of people would go nuts. You know, it would be too difficult for a lot of people to take. So, you know, they roll it out in a little corner of the internet, ridicule it until it catches a little bit, and then, I mean, eventually, as far as I'm concerned, they can't deny the obvious forever. And I don't think we're being censored. That's the other thing. We have loads of flat earthers that say, I'm being censored, I'm being censored. And as far as I'm concerned, if anything was going to get censored, this isn't just me being big-headed, it would be this show. It's about as specific to the topic as you can get. So this would be censored if it was being censored, and it isn't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but on saying that though, I went into Roxanne's chat the other day just to see who was in there, and although I recognised some of the wrenches, everybody, there wasn't a single person that did not have a wrench that I actually recognised. And I'm like, how have I not run into these? Why is my circles not overlapped with their circles?
Easily. If you think of Jaron's subscriber base, he's got 120,000 people that are subscribed to him. There's a damn good chance that some of them you won't know, Anthony. Same with mine. I wouldn't know all 8,000 people that are subscribed to me.
Yeah, but we all move in the same circles, don't we?
Well, you'd hope so, but I mean, the guy that dropped that $50, if it wasn't for me emailing him saying thank you, I wouldn't have found out who he was. He never chats. So one day he just drops a message in as opposed to a super chat, and are you going to know who he is? But he's been watching every single show.
Wow, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and I don't like the argument from globe earthers who say, yeah, if flat Earth was real, then the CIA would already have killed many flat earthers, or made sure that they don't speak their mind again and stuff like this. I mean, the obvious step I would take as government, if everything is true what you guys say, is that I would make flat Earth look ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
That's the
as
standard,
they do right now.
Like they do, yeah, exactly. So the standard narrative reigns supreme. People think they live on a globe. That's still the standard narrative, and flat Earth remains ridiculed. So nothing's really changed, but the information's out there in a much wider spread way than it was before. That's the main difference. So I don't know, controlled rollout or just us waking up luckily is anybody's guess. Obviously for you, Zinda, you don't think it's a flat Earth anyway. So for you, life is just normal, right?
Yeah, since I joined the show, I looked at many things more skeptical than I did before. So maybe I will become one day. Who knows? But right now, I still think no, I live on a globe because of certain reasons. Yeah.
You know, when you get on your plane flight,
I
want you to be remembering Soundly's Pontchartrain stuff as
John.
the scale for what they show as the so-called curve of the Earth.
Yeah.
And then try and apply that scale to the plane that you're now looking in. And see, do you see any evidence of it?
60 seconds from starting.
Yeah.
Ahoy, ahoy.
I'm going to make hi. I'm going to make room for anyone else soon. I can't stay to debate an argument long enough that it would be.
But when you take your trips in there, look at it objectively. You know, just
you don't want to
report. You know,
housekeeping, do you?
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Zinda, Stopping Traffic in My Rasta Hat, Spec, Sleeping Warrior, Jose, John, Eric, Earth Flattener, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon. Hey Nathan, your camera is blurry.
Great.
My camera?
Full house.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, good to have you all. Excellent start to the show. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Nathan, check your camera because you were really blurry.
Oh, it's okay.
No.
So long as they heard the intro and subscribed if they didn't do already. That's all I'm concerned about.
Right.
I did check though. It shouldn't have been blurry. I don't know what it was.
So no signs of curvature.
Nothing new. Nope.
But on the subject of curvature, you are off curve hunting though, aren't you, Zinda?
Yeah, I'm going to fly in 3 days to Thailand, and I will look for the curve. Maybe I will see it. Maybe not. Maybe I will see a fish eye window. Who knows?
And when you do, just remember Soundly's Pontchartrain for the scale, because if Pontchartrain is the level of curve that we have, then you should definitely see it on a plane.
All right, I will look for it.
Take pictures.
Yeah, I'm going to fly with. I mean, I won't have a good camera because I won't take this on the plane. I think maybe my roommate has one. Maybe he can take good pictures, and I would have to be on the side of the window. I won't have to have a window seat to take good pictures. Let's see.
You can see the picture in my icon. I've got a pretty good picture, and we're at cruising altitude, looking north toward Las Vegas from over Phoenix.
Yeah, looks flat to me.
Boom.
Except at the bottom at the window. Always looks warped. If you look just at the right angle, then you might find your curve.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will do the same as you claim Soundly do, like with the like taking specific shots that really prove my point, and ignoring everything else.
Is that your confession in plain sight?
Maybe.
No,
Maybe I'm
sense of
delusional,
humour.
dude. Maybe.
No,
Maybe this is my way of thinking. I didn't find it out yet. Who knows?
I laughed. I was on mute.
Actually, I laughed as well. Well said.
Yeah.
So, any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
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 Nope.
Scientific evidence.
Hold on.
Here we go.
I got a beg in the question fallacy. The rotation of the stars, and then they throw the strawman argument in the begging the question fallacy. They say, but it doesn't work in your flat Earth model. They're like, what flat Earth model are you talking about? You know?
Yeah, what is this flat Earth model we hear so much about that we're all supposed to represent and believe in?
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, the only flat Earth map I've seen is the map of Monday, and it's not exactly accurate. Let's put it that way.
Well, apparently they like to be fortune tellers because their quote unquote model works and predicts everything perfectly.
Shut up to Dick Earth.
That simply isn't true,
We
though,
got two
Eric.
things basically, and that is the geometrical aspect of it and some of the layout, roughly.
A map is a map. A model is a reification fallacy. A map is not a model. Okay?
Indeed.
We just don't have a fully accurate world map. We have
Right.
thousands of them.
But we do have pretty detailed land masses, as it were.
Let me just comment on that reification fallacy. Yesterday's show, Rumpus, he laughed at me because he said, Riley's just found out about this reification fallacy. And yeah, I make no secret about the fact that I did not know about this before. But the question that you've got to ask yourself is, why have I not come across this before? And the answer, of course, is I've never come across anybody that represents the real world with a model ever in my life until Flat Earth. Once you get into Flat Earth, and if you don't realize that everything is based around this heliocentric model, why would anybody have this knowledge of a reification fallacy? The answer, of course, is because there are no other walks of life where models represent reality. So I would never have naturally ran into it, but for the fact of Flat Earth. So whilst Rumpus is quite correct to point out mockingly that I've never come across it before, I concur. I agree completely. However, it's only in Flat Earth that reification, as far as I'm aware, can really come into real world because, well, where else is there a model that anybody can rely upon to represent reality other than Flat Earth and heliocentricity?
In this globe Earth model, the sun is their god and everything revolves around it.
I
Hail
like the sun as
Helios.
God.
Hail Helios.
Yeah, he is my God. Okay,
Helios.
this is my God. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's so shiny.
Shiny, shiny.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, for real, yeah.
How can we please that big light in the sky? Talking of lights in the sky, is there any
that's a
evidence
really
of
good
the
point. Like,
distance? Just before I
like
get it,
companies-
any evidence of the distance to the sun? Gonna get it in.
Nope. There's light. There's light, and it comes from a direction. And at the epicenter of the direction, there apparently is a visible disk present.
Apparently.
It is very, very far away, very, very big. And everything revolves around it. I'm sorry, I just said it again.
It's very small. I've seen it in front of the tree and clouds.
Hey,
Therefore-
man, I can block it with my finger.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Oh, my
Teeny,
finger is
teeny, tiny.
bigger than the whole world. Holy shit!
I can block it
You
out with my
have
little
to
finger.
Stick it into your eye.
Wow, I never noticed that.
That is pretty balmy, though, to think about it in that manner. When you phrased it like that, I think it's bigger than the whole world. That, that little light up there, that's bigger than everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm really good at perspective, so I can say that my hand is bigger than the whole world.
Yeah, that's exactly it, though, isn't it? That's what you've got to believe. It's some ginormous
That's
thing.
from perspective.
It's only a parent size.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Apparently so.
So I have a question. Have you guys looked into the new moon a lot? I haven't seen a lot of it in the debates, but it's weird that there's still like a moonlight when there is no moon.
What do you mean? Have we looked into it? I bang on about the new moon like regularly. You've not been keeping up to date, Spec, have you? Come on, admit it.
I have not been up to date with the flat Earth.
The moon, the new moon goes missing for every soul on the whole planet for between 3 and 4 days. Not anybody sees it, right? And the explanation is that it's not receiving enough light from the sun. We're on the backside of the moon relative to the sun, which that only makes sense for a solar eclipse, right? But for the rest of the time, I'll give you, say, 5-10 hours maybe whilst it's transiting the sun, the totality part of the sun. But for the rest of the time, we've all got different angles, and the sun is giving us light on that side. We should see a crescent, and it should be relative to the angle that the sun's at relative to the moon. But we can't even see the moon in the sky, let alone see a crescent on it. And I don't accept the explanation by the heliocentric model, which is that it's not receiving enough light. It is getting light, and we should see it.
I agree.
I have a question for the panel. Do you think that when the moon is not present in the sky, when it's definitely black, like middle of the night, that these stars might be a little bit brighter than when the moon is present in the
Well,
sky.
yes, they are.
Yeah.
You know, most definitely. From if you've ever used a telescope, you'll know that if the moon's out, then it makes your life a lot more difficult if you're looking at the stars.
So what's like the percentage wise?
It's not like that. It's
20%,
more that you're
50%, 100%.
It's not that they're more bright. It's that the moon is washing out the light from them. So it's not that they're more bright, but they would appear more bright, relatively speaking, because there isn't moonlight washing them out.
Yeah. Same as with cities. If you live in a city, you see almost no stars.
Exactly. Call it light pollution.
Well, that's my question is that if pretend that you blotted out the sun at noon, would you be able to see the Southern Cross potentially? I mean, we can't see it.
Test that during an eclipse.
I don't think I understand the question fully.
Well, is that the sun obviously is brighter than the stars, so that if the sun was blotted out, would we see the same stuff that they see in Australia?
No, I don't think you even see stars during eclipses.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, that's not dependent on the light. That's dependent on your geographical position on their model.
You don't see the stars during eclipses. Have you ever noticed?
Is that true?
I don't.
Let's give that a few thoughts.
I've seen eclipses, partial eclipses, and I've seen full eclipses on videos. I don't remember seeing any stars when that happens.
Good point.
But I understand your point, Spec, because we have never. I mean, while the sun is up, we don't see which stars are supposed to be visible in those hours of the day. You know, I understand your question. So what stars are supposed to be there?
They are visible. I'd like to see it actually now.
Yeah, I mean, what can you actually see when the sun is out? Not much, because the sun is brighter than the stars.
I'll just look it up.
But during a solar eclipse, right? Is somebody suggesting from the chat that there is pictures of stars during a solar eclipse?
Stars, so when you don't see the stars because the moon is not taking energy.
Your robot
sun is really bright so that you don't see any stars.
But yet when the sun is still quite out and you got a nice blue sky, we can still see a moon.
Yeah, how's that work?
Yeah, I don't know.
I recently took a flight at night, and it was really bizarre because once we hit
no stars.
Yeah, you couldn't see them at night, and then there was no moonlight on the actual. I was sitting on on the wing, right? So there's no moonlight on the wing. It was really weird. And then as we started to descend to land, the moonlight actually started hitting the wing. How's that possible?
Strange. I mean, I've heard from a friend that he often enough when he flies in an airplane, he can see the stars if he puts his head like down the window and look like really up at a certain angle. You can see the stars. If he looks out of the window normally, he can't see stars. I've never seen stars in an airplane too. When I was in an airplane too.
Me neither. I've taken loads of flights and I've never seen stars, but certainly Patricia Steer gave me an account of seeing stars when she was on a flight once, and I've grilled her on it, and I've got no reason to disbelieve her, but it's certainly nothing I've ever experienced personally.
Yeah, but I would say that that's true, but you definitely see far less. Like you'll see the North Star and maybe a couple others, but you don't see stars like you do when you're like up in the high mountain range or whatnot.
No.
Yeah, when we were at cruising altitude, like I said, I was looking out at the wing of the plane, and there was zero light. And then as we actually started to descend to land, that's when the wing started to light up.
Yeah, it's almost as if the and I know there's a varying degree of level, but it's almost as if where the clouds exist, like once you get above that range of where clouds exist, and I don't know what it is exactly, the range, but it's like things change. You get up into, like you said, cruising altitude, let's say what, 30 something plus thousand feet, and things just change as far as lighting.
I think there's like maybe there is some kind of static electricity stream there, specifically there, like that can be utilized as a source, and I don't know. They
You're
could
saying
use
like
that.
above where clouds can exist is what you're
Right,
saying.
and it might be, if it is indeed there, if you can measure it there being some kind of energy, then maybe that would be the reason we see the stars. They may be the source, the fuel for it somehow.
Oh, sorry, just gotta say, clouds have got sod all to do with it. Clouds can exist at any altitude.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're saying like fog is cloud. Yeah, I mean, is it really though?
Hey, magnetism and all, and electricity, static electricity, water is definitely influenced by it. So if there's something there, that may also be the cause of the way the clouds work.
But wait a minute.
And we all understand this is a brainstorming idea,
Yes,
just speculating because we're looking at freaking lights in the sky, you know. But
I'm
we
trying
gotta
to replace
entertain
my
everything.
gravity, okay? I need some new project.
Yeah, but seriously, I mean, why would there not be light on the wing of the plane until we started to descend? You know what I mean? There should be moonlight, there should be starlight, there should be something, but there was nothing. It was pitch black.
How often have you seen it? Like, I mean, either you can say, all right, it's because you descended, or because you went in a certain area where less clouds were above you, right? So how often have you seen this? Because if you've seen this like 10 times, and every time you descend, you can see the light on the wings, then it's right. It's something is strange.
Well, actually, wait a minute, Nathan. You said no. I just look. What's the maximum height for clouds is roughly 20,000 feet. So there is an upward limit.
Oh, does it just hold on? Does it just change the terminology of what it is though when it descends below that?
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you could argue that when we have rolling fog across, on the street level or rolling across the valley, I mean, I guess we call that clouds. I mean, I call it fog, but it's what is a cloud? It's water. I mean, I don't call fog water. I don't say, oh, wow, it's really cloudy. It's foggy.
Right, but I mean, I just remember when my folks used to live in the Welsh hills, you would see a weather system coming towards you, and it would hit you in the face. You know what I mean?
Look,
so, at what point do you change the definition of what it is? I mean, these are just. I mean, I'm not being horrible, Eric. I just mean that what we see and what we experience is a particular thing. Forget its name. And it can be at any altitude. But if somebody somewhere, presumably a meteorologist, has said, well, no, below a certain altitude it's no longer classed as cloud, well, that doesn't change what it is. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I know. But there is an upward limit from what I just the first time I ever checked it.
I'll be a bit more humble. I concede that specifically clouds can only exist above that altitude. There you go.
All right. I don't know.
I'm still kind of interested in studying the pattern, the statistic you could call it, of the pressure gradient and the heights. I'd like to study it.
Excellent segue.
Get a graph out of it.
Excellent segue, Arwin. So, is there any evidence that we can have a gas pressure without a container?
Definitely not. But there could be information deduced from this pressure gradient.
I'd like to speak to this here in a few minutes.
Like, just
I say no.
Graph.
Let's get answers. Let's get answers first.
Go on, John.
Yeah. There's a comeback to this. There's a State of the Union of the Pretender Clown Globetard Network has put out apparently a flash memo as a response to that argument. So after we're done with, I don't want to ruin the whole housekeeping. So after you're done with it, we can speak to it.
You already have.
No worries. Let's rattle through the others. So, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
Nope.
Only
nothing new.
Elements, and they seem to be like an aberration.
Excellent.
It gives it the impression that there is a unified thing, but they are all just elements just happen to coincide just perfectly, and it can be used as a technical measuring tool, especially during design processes. That's the funny thing about it. That's where it came from. But it is not a thing. It's an aberration of nature.
the first word that came out of your mouth was no. The rest just confusion. So no.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
Nothing new.
No core, no
What do you mean
layer
nothing new?
of anything
nothing
molten.
Nothing that wasn't mentioned before. I think once the seismology was mentioned, but I don't even support this. So no, nothing new.
Yeah, that is the current science, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand enough to say if it's to deny it or to accept it, because I just say, all right, I claim that I never looked into this.
Do you consider seismology to be relatively accurate?
I don't think so, because as you told me about the Kola super deep borehole, where they where seismologists predicted that the rocks under the earth should get more dense, but they didn't. They got less dense. So
Yeah,
this
and
is
they got boiling hydrogen mud, and they predicted a transition layer of basalt to granite to basalt, and they didn't get it. There was 4 major mistakes that they made in that Kola super deep borehole. At least you remembered that hangout. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is one specific case. I can't talk about every seismologist. Maybe they just made mistakes. Maybe other seismologists are better, or maybe they are more, maybe they are more precise. So I don't know about seismology enough to talk with certainty about this topic.
Neither do I. I just know that they made mistakes on the predictions for the Kola super deep borehole, and that makes me wonder whether it's accurate at all.
But in Jurassic
Park,
Park,
for being honest.
But in Jurassic Park, they saw a velociraptor under the ground.
Did they? I can't remember.
So last but not least, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No.
Nope.
Any more? Any more for any more? No, no R
Nope.
value. Okay, so let's get back to gas pressure without a container then, John.
Yeah, I got to share my screen. This will be painless, just a couple minutes.
Depends on which side of the fence you're on, though, right? I enjoy this kind of part of the show. The painful side.
1 second. Got some technical difficulties, it looks like, Nathan.
Well, I have to go, guys. Sadly, I can't hear what John has to say, but I think I will do it when I'm going to be home again. So, have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Bye.
See you later, dude.
Thank you for staying on the housekeeping.
No problem. Thank you.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still having some technical difficulties. Wait one.
So in the meantime,
well, there's a spot open in the panel. Yeah, somebody in the chat that has some glow proofs. We will love to hear them.
Hey, Apollo.
Let's give a shout out to Defund NASA in chat, who says that Wolfie sees curvature at 45,000 feet. Defund NASA? No, he doesn't.
No, neither will Zinda. I was going to say that actually. Good reminder. So I don't really understand why anyone would be attempting to seek out curvature from a commercial airline. Hey, Peanuts.
Hey. Good afternoon.
Well, it's obviously because Pontchartrain shows us how small the Earth is, Nathan. We should see that exaggerated when you get high enough to be able to see. You should see the curve. We should be the size of a golf ball.
I mean, this is part of my waking up story, so I might as well just repeat it. If you've heard it before, just go and get a cup of tea. So most of my time when I was a rep was spent staring out the back window, the one that doesn't have any seats, the emergency exit window, because you can get a nice wide angle and look left and right without any seats in the way. And I'd be stood there with all the people making the stuff in the galley, whatever you call it, the kitchen, and just looking at what was below me, while everyone else on the plane was staring at the backs of their seats watching a movie that hadn't even been released in America yet. So super up-to-date movies to keep everyone's attention on the flight. Now, I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in what was out the window. And I knew that you could not see curve from a commercial airliner. So what would go through my mind was, wow, I really wish I could get higher so I could see the curve of the Earth. Obviously, I was a globehead at the time. Now, that was my fantasy. Now, that seems weird when I think back on it, on account of the fact that I was actually saying to myself, look how flat it was. But in my mind, the programming was such that I knew from whatever research that I could not see the curve at that height. I'd need to get up to 80,000 feet in order to see a tiny amount of curve. That was what the rhetoric said, and I knew it when I was looking out that window. And what I saw below was a flat plane. So this, you should get higher and see what Soundly produces, getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, you should. Absolutely. We should see curve from the ground in a tiny amount, given the size of sphere they say we're on. And with every foot that you get higher, you should see a more pronounced curve. But they simultaneously doublespeak you and tell you that you will not see curve from 35, 40, whatever, 1,000 feet cruising altitude on a commercial airliner. It is not possible. There are many clips I can get you from Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining with a little beach ball or whatever little scale model of the Earth, saying if you were the ISS, you'd be an inch above this beach ball. And if you're in a commercial airliner, you're a millimetre above it. You'll never see curvature. You know, I'm sure it was Andrzej was most recently, if it's not you, I'm sorry to credit you, it'd be someone else, but my bad, released an old video of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about Felix Baumgartner and his jump and saying that it was riddled with fisheye lenses and explaining that at the altitude that Felix was at, you shouldn't see curve. Now that's Neil deGrasse Tyson telling the masses, televised, that he shouldn't have seen curve either. It's just fisheye. Well, yeah. You definitely don't see it from a commercial airliner. I know from personal experience, all you'll ever see is a massive flat plane below you. Because that's what we live on. Despite the fact that you definitely should, regardless of the rhetoric, which is that you shouldn't, you should see a curve. You should definitely rise up and see it curving. You won't, because we live on a flat Earth. Anyway, that's my rant over.
Especially if you use an infrared camera.
Nathan, we've got Roger MC in chat saying that that's an anecdotal fallacy. He believes that actually you can see the curvature from a plane.
Well, then show us.
Yeah.
Come on, Roger MC.
Show us.
Shite.
I've been on plenty of...
Nathan,
go ahead, John.
I'm going to... Nathan.
Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I'm having some serious problems here, technically speaking. I'm going to get out of the Hangout. I'm going to come back in on Skype.
Okay, well, I'll call you because otherwise I have problems. So
hey, give me 5 minutes.
No problem.
Okay, out.
That'll be an imminent restart.
And then we got Vinnie Mac here. According to Nathan, I guess Nathan's the priest here. What lights the moon?
How the hell should I know?
Lights the moon.
Well,
the moon is not lit.
Since you're claiming we don't live on a ball, they expect that you know everything about what you say.
Right. I mean, how do we know it's lit as opposed to a light? I mean,
because if it was emitting light, there wouldn't be shadows on the moon.
There wouldn't be what?
What? The moonlight gives off shadow. Sorry. And it doesn't have shadows.
No, he means there wouldn't be shadows on the surface of the moon from our perspective.
If it was emitting its own light, it would there wouldn't be shadows.
Well, how do we even know the shadows on the moon? You mean the stuff like the moon landing?
The suppositional argument. You're assuming that.
Hold on. What's wrong with this point? Why aren't you just conceding this? Apollo's right. What's wrong with that? I don't get it. Why are you arguing against him?
Well, there's a tangibility argument that it might not be a real tangible object.
But it's got shadows on it. So what should come back to that?
Apollo's right.
Why are you assuming those are shadows?
You mean, wait. Are we talking about shadows from the moon?
Hold on. Just let Apollo answer.
The craters.
Hold on. Let Apollo answer. It's his claim.
I'm talking about shadows photographed by amateurs with telescopes. So I'm not talking about any NASA material.
Okay, so we're talking about the view of the moon from the Earth, not shadows being on the moon.
We're talking about shadows on the moon photographed with a telescope.
From Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
From Earth.
You mean like the supposed crater shadows, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, there is proof. Basically, again, you can look at it from a different perspective, zoom in closer on actual footage, not NASA enhanced footage, as it were, and you'll figure out that what you're looking at could be interpreted in multiple ways.
I don't think so.
It's not
hold on,
necessarily
Arwin. How much time have you spent looking down a telescope? Because I know for a fact that Apollo has, and I definitely have.
It's almost like a kaleidoscopic effect, as it were.
I don't know. Would you agree with that, Apollo?
No.
Neither would I.
And neither would I.
How about
I kind of do. I think that the moon craters are basically almost like a kaleidoscope.
Timing. There's my telescope. Love it.
Well, wait. Look at it. Can we look at it like this? Like you have an overhead light with a, let's say, marble type container, like the glass, the globe, right?
So-
It has texture. So I mean, if you're looking at that, that looks. I guess we could say, well, it looks like shadow, but no, it's just it's a pattern of the what's being illuminated.
Yes,
But
like a fractal, like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, I mean, just look at a light. You know, a lot of the fixtures on a light, overhead light or lamp or whatever. I mean, it has there's various textures.
Yes, but you can actually see in a sequence of photos taken over several hours, you can actually see how the shadows increase or decrease in size.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't.
Those don't look like shadows. Those are just slightly less bright surface.
Oh,
Doesn't
no,
look
they are
shadowy at all.
completely black. They aren't slightly
Black?
less bright. They
Sorry,
are
but look around it. That's black. Those spots there, those are not black.
No,
Apollo,
sorry.
that's going to be a hard sell, man.
I'm talking about the shadows are completely black compared to the surrounding surface that you can see in those photos. It isn't just slightly less bright.
Yeah,
Arvine.
it is.
I mean, you know,
If you
sorry,
look
just
at
this
the
isn't a fair
surrounding,
picture. Sorry, just to
blackness
interrupt, just for 1
of
second. Sorry to
space.
interrupt. This isn't. We're not talking about when it's full moon. You don't get shadows. You know, we're talking about when it's not a full moon. That's when you get pronounced shadows.
Yes, because of course yes.
I'd love to compare a full moon picture, as it were, with actual craters, as in other phases. Just
I can
overlay
actually-
that and kind of switch out. See what are you looking at? Really.
Yeah, I can get one of those photos I saw it today. So one photographer took one photo of a crater at full moon and one photo of the crater in a different phase.
Right.
Yes, so you saw the difference. One photo had no shadows at all, the full moon photo. And one photo had the shadows and part of the crater was black. A tiny part of it.
I still saw
Well-
it's a kaleidoscopic effect.
I mean, really, just if somebody's making a claim about the moon, just it's okay. What's the moon?
Somebody in the chat says it's a rock in the sky and lit by the sun. That's
Oh yeah. What's it made of? I mean, rocks.
Yeah, I guess. Dust.
There are some
It's
people
made out
here
of
on Earth that
petrified
got
wood.
damn rocks.
Anyway, well,
Real moon rocks.
if Nathan has a second, I'd like to ask him a question about a claim he made yesterday.
Go ahead.
So, obviously, you know that I believe I live on a flat plane, and yesterday Rumpus was on, and y'all had a 20-minute back and forth on how a model could not be considered a hypothesis. And you just kept saying, it can't be, it can't be. You never elaborated on it.
I did.
So I was trying to put myself thinking like Rumpus. So in mainstream science, they basically collaborate the word theory, hypothesis, and model. They basically collaborate them together. So I would like Nathan to explain why it is not right to say model as a hypothesis.
Certainly. The word science has been hijacked by pretender clown muppets who do not perform the scientific method. Science would be an application of that method. If you apply that method, you have an singular one independent variable. That is your presumed cause of the effect. Now, the fact that you have one means you're not going to be assembling lots of different things as part of a model with multiple effects taking place. You are simply establishing the sole cause of the effect. So when I say models aren't formulating scientific predictions, or the real world word for it would be hypothesis, not complex hypothesis. That'll give you a correlation. A model won't give you a cause. A scientific experiment may give you the cause. It may not. You might get a zero difference result. That's why you do experiments, to see if your presumed individual one, singular, alone, independent variable is or is not the cause of the effect. So we're not talking about modelling things, because when you model things, they don't give you the cause, they give you a correlation. So you can say this is a high probability, often done in medicine. Well, saying this is a high probability that will help is not saying we know what the phenomena is, your illness, and we know what causes it. They don't do that. They say we have a probability. Well, that's not a cause. And what Rumpus is trying to do is muddy the waters between the two. And he will say, complex hypothesis is hypothesis. Well, no. If it was the case that multiple different independent variables, which is a contradiction in terms, could be used, then you wouldn't have the word complex before it. That would just be a hypothesis. It's not, because a hypothesis is, it's very clear what a hypothesis is. It's a scientific prediction. And in that prediction, that scientific prediction, you will have one independent variable. Not two, not three, not five, not multiples, one. And you will test that single sole independent variable as your presumed cause in an experiment. And if you get the effect when you vary and manipulate that single one independent variable, then you have established your cause. Rumpus doesn't have that. That's his problem. He doesn't have science. He doesn't want to admit to it. As I said at the start of this little rant, there are plenty of pretender clown muppets who want to label their engineering, their technology, their computer science as exactly that. Science. It isn't. Anyway.
Let me add to that. Nathan and I had a conversation last night about Rumpus's attempt, right? And what Rumpus was effectively arguing was that if you have a 3-variable test, hypothesis, if you will, then you can, basically he would not accept that that gives you a correlation, mathematical correlation, but it doesn't give you a cause. It just gives you a correlation, and that's not scientific method, right? That's not science. You're getting a correlation. And he has to obfuscate that point, because what he wants to do is sound credible, and he wants to sound all knowledgeable and that we're being stupid. But actually, the fundamental principle that he's fouling on is that a correlation is not causation. And ballers know this, but Rumpus has to obfuscate that point because he has to sound like he knows what he's talking about, and he has to deliberately hijack it. Now, at the end of the day, he knows he's wrong, right? But he has to make it sound like he's right. And it makes people think that he is still some kind of self-proclaimed authority. But the guy's not that intelligent. He claims to be, and he argues as though he is, as though he's got this pompous attitude that we're all thick. But the guy can't do maths the same way that he represents physics. He demonstrated that when he added 2 different values to neutral buoyancy definition that he tried to put into maths. He added volume and little g. Well, that's simply dishonest. And he knows it is, but he'll push it anyway because he has to obfuscate the point. He has to get little g in there. He has to sound credible at all costs. And that's why he does what he does. It's an intentional ploy.
Can I just welcome John back? Hey, John. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Can I just add something to that?
Go ahead.
He said in his beginning statement, who was talking?
I don't know who asked the question now. I think it was Peanuts. Was it you?
Peanuts asked the question and I answered it.
Yes, he said, well, mainstream science, number one, what the hell is that? Number two, they use model, hypothesis, and theory together. You can't have one definition for 3 different words, right? So why don't you go ahead and define each of those for us, please? Let's see if
so
they're the same.
you kind of cut out. So when I say mainstream science, so when I look up something and whatever the top 3 science websites say, I'm basically concluding that is what they are collaborating together as a model, hypothesis, and a theory. They're basically saying they all mean the same.
Well, that's 3 different words, right? And one definition.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It does not make sense.
There you go. There's your problem right there.
Hold on, John. It's not Peanut's problem. He's trying to explain how the ballers convolute what is real science with what they claim is science.
Right, I understand that. I'm not trying to jack them up or something. I'm just trying to work out the terms here.
Sure.
Because that's where the confusion lies. So, like I said, you can't have one definition for 3 terms. That's preposterous. And when you say science websites, science is a method. It doesn't have a website, right? It's a method of inquiry. Okay?
I understand. Honestly, I was just basing it off of whatever Google algorithms would show me if I typed that phrase in. I basically just typed in, can a model be a hypothesis? And I read that. I'm not claiming that it's...
So can you give me a source for that citation? Like when was decided that a model can be part of the scientific method?
Google it, Arwin.
Like I said,
the history
all I
of
did
scientific
is...
method is very elaborate. So if you have specific reference that I could look into.
Like I said, all I did is type in, how can a model be a hypothesis in the Google tab? In the first 3 websites.
Somewhere on a website, that's nothing. That's just a story.
I'm not making any claims. I'm asking questions.
Hold on a second. A model is a reification fallacy. So reification fallacies cannot enter the scientific method. So there you go right there. It's over right there.
Yeah, gullible people, weak-minded people that don't understand how to research and come to a truth, they're going to Google shit and they're going to come across this and they're going to be like, yeah, right, it can be.
You got to source your material. It's that simple. You got to check, like, what is this? Who are these? What is this organization?
So let me ask you this. What if I modeled something to provide visualization?
That's good. You can use, as I said, you can use, for example, gravity as a tool. And there are groups of people that do that. It's very useful. That doesn't make it a real thing, though. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
Yeah, and that is not a scientific model. You're equivocating here. What model are you talking about? Because you have runway models, you have airplane models, you have computer models, you have scientific models. There are at least, I checked, there are at least 35 different models, right? So which model are you talking about?
Hey, Daniel.
Philosophical models.
Right? Do you see where this lies? Also, you said a model, hypothesis, and a scientific theory, right? A scientific theory is not a part of the scientific method, right? It's the result of completing the scientific method. So people just, I don't know, they're just making stuff up. Is this where we're at now? Let's make stuff up.
Yeah, well, that's what you get online. I mean, maybe that's something that needs discussing, because people think that if you just find a reference, so they often hear us say, well, what's your citation for that? And they'll come back with some garbage. Maybe people don't know how to assess what they're actually reading.
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah. And really, it's just, I was listening to the show yesterday, and for 20 minutes, Rumpus was trying to maybe explain how a model could be a hypothesis. Nathan just kept saying no. He never went in and elaborate.
No,
why
no,
it
we
cannot.
did tell
And
him.
that's the reason
and the,
why
and the
I asked
delay
the question.
was, that wasn't the delay. The delay was we were asking him for his independent variable, which he said there are no independent variables in scientific hypotheses. That's on the level of, like I said, a butcher saying there are no ribeyes in a cow, right? So, and moreover, Rumpus is a self-purported physics degree holder. I mean, we're not talking your average run-of-the-mill baller, the knuckle draggers. I mean, Rumpus is somebody that has self-purportedly a degree in physics, and he doesn't even know what a scientific hypothesis is. That should be a screaming testimony for you, right, on where we're at.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I think we've killed that.
Thanks for explaining it.
Well,
So, I mean,
just to summarise, there's two reasons. One, a model is a reification fallacy. Two, you can't have more than one independent variable. And in order for him to substitute a model into what he claims is a scientific hypothesis, he needs three. So he has to obfuscate the point. So when I'm saying no, we just want an independent variable for 25 minutes, it's clear that what's come through to the audience is we've obfuscated his point about a model being able or capable of being a hypothesis. Now, it can't. If you're talking about science, a hypothesis is a very specific thing. It establishes your IV and DV relationship. That's all it does. Establishes your independent and dependent variables. What's the effect? What's the observed phenomena? Your dependent variable. What is your presumed cause? Your independent variable. Not 3, not 7, not 5, not a model. Just one independent variable. The thing you'll manipulate to cause the effect. That's science. Anything outside of that, if it's claiming to be science, like Rumpus, it's pseudoscience. So what he is a practitioner in pseudoscience, not science. He claims it's science, but it isn't.
Let me just add to what John's just said there. I think you're being a lot too kind on Rumpus, John. Rumpus knows the scientific method if he's got a degree in physics, right? He knows it. That means he's either forgotten it, which is possible, or he's deliberately misrepresenting it, which is more likely. The Rumpus is a priest. He's a heliocentric priest, and he will literally obfuscate points, no matter how bad it makes him look, to try and get the message across that his way is the right way. And his way is obviously heliocentricity. But that's not what science says. It's like cause and effect are the two key words, not correlation. He knows this, and he has to obfuscate it, no matter how bad he looks, because he's here to obfuscate. He's not here to do anything to do with the truth. He's here to make people still believe in a little spinning ball.
I got a question for you.
I hear what you're hold on. I hear what you're saying, Anthony. However, remember I brought up a document talking about physics professors, university physics professors brainwashing their students, right? So they're not going in there and talking about the scientific method in these physics classes. I'm going to tell you that. They're teaching them
sure.
what they're teaching them. Hold on a second. Who's talking?
Me. Sorry.
Hold on a second. Were you following that, Anthony?
Yeah. You were saying about the teacher that basically admits that he's brainwashing his kids.
Yes, and they're not going over the scientific method at a freshman university physics class. That ain't happening. Yep. You're supposed to learn that back in grade school.
John, sorry to interrupt, but I have to ask the question. In this context, who's the teacher that's brainwashing the school kids?
Who's the teacher?
In this scenario, John, Rumpus is the teacher. The audience are the school kids.
I see what you're saying. You flipped it. I got you, but you can't. Listen, I'm not in the business of intent and motives with people. I'm not in that business. Go to a carnival tent and go to Mystic Meg. She might be able to do it. All I could deal with is the words that come out of people's mouth. I could care less for their intent. Rumpus is a is a demonstrated pretender clown. We all know this. He'd fail 5th grade general science. So let's just leave it there.
Yeah, it's a good point because people focus on, are they a shill? Where's their motives lie? Who cares? Are they right or are they wrong? Can you pick apart what they're saying or not? Who cares? He could be stood with 5 men holding guns to his head while he says all this stuff, for all we know. It doesn't matter. Is he right or not?
But the other thing is,
I firmly believe he's a religious fanatic.
The way Rumpus deals with criticism is not to listen. He literally he stops you from criticizing by going bobbity 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 bob the way that Mr. Grimby used to, and that's the reason why he's disingenuous, right? He will not listen to criticism.
I got a question over here to John.
Hold on a second, John. Just pop. You've got a bit of background noise, John. If you can hover the mute button just while you're not talking, if you don't mind.
There's nothing in my background at all.
No, we have from you.
Hey, John, Mr. Quantum Racer, how you doing? I got a question because I heard you say something. I don't know if it was a slip or you mean it. So I got a question. Is there such thing as a scientific model?
I didn't hear you. Go ahead. Say that one more time.
Is there such thing as a scientific model?
Yes, it's defined.
Okay, that was it, because I heard you when you were addressing the other guy, you were saying, but you gotta tell me what model, because there are runaway models, there are airplane models, and there's scientific model, and then you continue. I said, like, did I hear scientific model? All right. Thank you. Yeah, that was it. I said,
yeah,
he didn't sleep because they're gonna get you, you know.
Okay, this is a scientific model, and I got this from Indiana University. The important point that Becker introduced is that the explanation of a natural phenomenon must be testable by experimentation. In other words, once a model is proposed as an explanation of a phenomenon, it can only be considered a scientific model if it can be objectively tested by experimentation. Period. So,
exactly, understand now.
Natural phenomena observed, please. You know, we start to go right down the list. You see how that goes?
Indeed, I agree. Yeah.
Same goes for
Is that better?
Same goes for a theory. So the theory at the end of a scientific process is the result of cause and effect reasoning established through hypothesis and systematically experimented upon. That is what gives you the result that you will then use in your scientific theory. So if you're using the word theory in the context of science, it is the after part of the scientific method. It comes afterwards. It doesn't come part of the hypothesis. It becomes part of your results.
I understand so a lot better now. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so yesterday, whenever Rumpus tried to add a third variable, what you're saying is that is not staying within the lines of the scientific data method, and your data could be incorrect. Is that what you're saying?
No, that is a complex hypothesis. Complex hypotheses are part of epidemiological studies. They are not looking or searching for causes. They are looking for correlations. The scientific method is strictly established to elucidate cause and effect relationships, not correlations. Follow?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And just, do you recognise the problem with establishing a correlation, even if it's a very high probability? I'll take the silence as a no.
What do you mean?
Well, the problem with establishing something as being highly probable, it doesn't mean it will always be the case. With a scientifically established cause, it is the cause of that effect. That's why science is so powerful. That's why dozens and dozens of institutions play to the science aspect, because you're trained at a young age that it proves things. Now, when we use those terms, we'll have someone like Rumpus saying, I can't prove I'm not a brain in a jar. In other words, he will descend it into farce, because you do prove things. In science, you have a presumed cause, and you scientifically validate it, prove it, as your cause through systematic experimentation. Now, if you've only got a high likelihood of something, that high likelihood sometimes doesn't pan out. Sometimes the thing that you say is highly likely doesn't happen. So you can't say this is the cause if it's only a high probability, because who knows, one time in 100 it might not happen. Well, if you're dependent on it happening, which often is the case when you have a scientific discovery, it's imperative that you know. Not that you have a good idea, not that you've got a good correlation, not that you've got a high probability. These are mathematical terms. And in the case of the real world, we want to know what causes things. Not what three things might come together to cause them in a high probable state. Sod that for a game of soldiers. We want to know the cause. And that's what science is for.
Right.
And another thing, this mathematical hypothesis, you will never, ever see an equation as a hypothesis, okay? It doesn't have anything to do with the scientific method, nothing. So when somebody says something like that, all you have to do is listen up. You say, do you know what germ theory is, right? Because germ theory was established through the scientific method. It is a scientific theory. And when they say yes, then your retort is, give me the equation of germ theory. It is absolutely the most preposterous question I think I ever heard. Just ask them to give you the equation of germ theory. Since, well, they've already said that science is mathematics and mathematics is science, well, a scientific theory, an actual one, is germ theory. So that you must conclude that there must be an equation of germ theory.
Yeah,
so show that.
If maths be the language of science, describe germ theory in that language. See how far you get. But Betty used this on GeoStreber, and GeoStreber's response was to go to the chat, and he asked a guy called Microblogganism, I think his name was. Can you remember his reply, John? He said, I think he said something along the lines of, you can give me the mathematics for germ theory, can't you, Microblogganism? And I think his reply, I don't know if you can remember it, if not, I'll try and rattle it off, paraphrasing it, John.
That isn't a scientific theory. Something like that. I can't exactly remember.
He basically pointed out in no uncertain terms that, no, you can't give a mathematical equation for germ theory.
It's preposterous, man. So all this is just second grade linguistic acrobatics from pretender clowns that don't know what the terms mean.
But that's why whenever we were filling out the blanks yesterday on the show, or whenever John was, Rumpus kept wanting to put the math equation instead of the words. Because obviously in his head, those equations, they're already fact to him.
Well, then remember when I tried to put it into
an
context of
equation.
reasoning?
Rumpus
actually claimed that inductive reasoning was scientific model. Inductive. So, yeah, that's why he gets his mathematical equations in there. In his mind.
I think his mistake was using equal to instead of proportional to. So, sorry. Hello. Just joined.
Cheers.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello, is that Daniel?
Yes, hi.
Good to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, he said equal to, and then proceeded to say that there was a gravitational constant within the other side of the equation. But before that experiment, before coming up with that equation, you have to say proportional to. And that is a valid hypothesis. Which is...
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. You're right. I looked over that, his hypothesis. I didn't tear every part of it down because I was chasing after the independent variable so I could make him look like an idiot. But in his hypothesis was the gravitational constant, right? But wasn't what we were looking for was proof of gravity? So how can you have or assume the gravitational constant, which would come out at the end of the experiment, right? Already in the hypothesis to prove it. So
Yeah,
it's a begging the question fallacy on steroids. There was a lot of other things wrong with it. I just didn't want to, go step by step and tearing everything down. I had a sole mission to show the independent variable and the dependent variable in the non sequitur tautology section, right? Because it was absolutely preposterous. I mean, mass is the cause of mass attracting mass. I mean, I don't know. You tell me, brother.
That's a misinterpretation of what he was saying. I was actually watching the live stream yesterday. The independent variable
what's a misinterpretation?
is mass, but that's not the cause. That's a variable. That's an effect of. That's something that changes the force of gravity.
Just so we get it clear, Daniel, do you know what an independent variable is?
Yeah, an independent variable is something that you would change in an experiment to.
That's excellent. What else? What else makes an independent variable an independent variable? What else?
I don't know. You tell me.
It's your presumed cause.
Oh yes. Well.
So
sure.
you've just said mass, the thing he gave as his independent variable, isn't the cause. Are you dumb or just wrong?
Okay, you can have.
Sorry, answer my question. You've just stated that mass is not the cause. Are you dumb or wrong?
Mass is not the cause. Of
Sorry,
the force.
we've just established that the independent variable is the presumed cause.
It is. Okay.
So I'll ask again. Are you dumb or wrong?
I misunderstood one of your questions.
Yeah. So dumb and wrong.
This is. Oof, I feel like I'm being attacked here. This is.
Yes, that's because you're dumb and wrong. The independent variable, Sunshine, is your presumed cause. If you are to assert that mass is not your presumed cause, you are either stupid or wrong.
No, he's Nathan. He's trying to fit plain English into his mathematical language. Clearly, that's what he's trying to correlate.
Oh, that's lovely. Unfortunately, this isn't a maths lesson. So we're not doing maths here. We're establishing what happens in the natural world. We're dealing with our world, not maths.
Okay, so I understand you're saying that mass then would be the cause, but that's never claimed in the theory of gravity.
There is no theory of gravity.
Sorry, did you not listen earlier? Sorry, did you not listen earlier? You said you listened to the show. We just explained what a theory is. It is the result of experimentation, hypothesis-driven experimentation, scientific prediction-based experimentation. That would give you a theory. So when you say the theory of gravity and we point out that you don't have an independent variable in the claimed experiment that proves gravity, then you definitely don't have a theory. Okay?
A theory is used...
Why are you now going to tell me about the theory that we have when I've just pointed out you don't even have a valid experiment? You don't have a valid hypothesis. You don't have science. What the hell makes you think you have a theory?
Because it can be used to explain some of the observations.
Oh, really? That's not a theory. That's not a theory. Again, are you wrong or stupid? That's
we
not
just talked about
a theory.
A theory can be used to predict...
Sorry, stop saying what the theory is. That's not a theory. Everyone shut up. I want this kid to acknowledge this. That's not a theory. Don't state again what the theory does. It's not a theory. Okay? Acknowledge what I've just said. Don't now say what the theory does, because that's what I'm telling you. It isn't.
What, gravity? You're saying gravity is not a theory.
Gravity is an aberration. There's no proof for it. You can't prove it. You can't vary it. I tried, trust me.
You can't... Well... Okay. There is no other valid explanation as to why things fall towards the Earth.
He's pretty high, his head's almost in the clouds. And...
I'm happy to have a discussion with you. That's
no, but
did you just say there's no valid explanation?
There are these phenomena. There are a lot of these phenomena. That
did you say there's no valid explanation for why
downward
things...
force?
Hey, Arwen.
There's no proof.
Shut your pie hole for a second.
So did you say there's no valid explanation for why things fall to the ground? Is that what you just asserted?
Yes.
So, as far as you're concerned, there's gravity or nothing.
Yes, because nothing else has been explained validly.
So, you said you watched the show.
Yes.
So an apple on water is going to fall towards the ground beneath it?
It's fallen towards the water.
Sorry, listen again to my question. Don't rearrange my question so it suits your narrative. You have an apple. It's floating on the water, and beneath it is the ground. Does that
beneath
apple...
the waters? Yes.
I hadn't quite finished. Have some patience. I'm taking it slowly because it's the second time I've said it.
Okay,
so try to listen. Does that apple fall to the ground?
No, because there is opposing force.
So why would you need to explain why apples fall to the ground when this apple isn't falling to the ground? Why isn't this apple falling to the ground like your fantasy world where everything goes down regardless of, guess what, the medium that it's in?
Well, it doesn't fall through water because...
Yes, that's my point, isn't it, Dumbo? That's my point. Don't assert my point back to me. That's my point. You said things fall to the ground. The apple falls to the ground and we have no explanation. I've got a situation now where there's an apple on water, different medium to the air, the one that you assert that we have no explanation for why it falls through that less dense medium, and it's not falling to the ground. You've just reasserted that back to me like it's your point. It isn't. It's mine. So, why isn't that apple falling to the ground, as you assert all apples do?
Why? Okay. What do you mean? It falls...
I'll give it you a third time. There's an apple on water. You just said what you mean, and I'll explain it again because you're slow. It needs 3 times asking for you to actually give me an answer without asking me a question. So, you have an apple on water. In your mind, it always goes to the ground. In this instance, it isn't. Why not?
In gravity, with the theory of gravity, things fall.
Gravity's not a theory.
9.81 meters per second.
Yeah,
there
it
is
doesn't listen.
An opposing force.
It doesn't listen.
Case,
Gravity's not a theory.
Buoyancy,
are you deaf?
An equal and opposite
are you
force
deaf?
gravity.
You're deaf.
So
we're correcting you. Don't keep talking. You've said it again. Gravity's not a theory.
Oh God.
Why are you going?
It is.
Oh, my ignorance! I was only explained this minutes earlier, and yet I've done it again because I'm a dumbass. Yes, please do not assert for a 4th time that you have a gravity theory. You don't. So, my question is, why isn't the apple going towards the ground?
Because of buoyancy.
So there is another explanation? Surely not. There's only gravity or nothing. A minute ago there was gravity or nothing. Why is it you suddenly have another explanation? Why do you have suddenly a second explanation? I thought it was gravity or nothing.
Well, buoyancy doesn't explain why things go down. It explains the opposite.
Oh.
Yeah, but you can't test that.
So
you can't test that.
You just said.
Does it have something? So would you say it has?
You just said that it opposes gravity. It wouldn't exist without it. Well, you can't technically.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So for what you've just described, there's an equal and opposite reaction going the opposite way.
Okay, but no. The buoyancy is due to the pressure in the medium that's surrounding it on the object.
What's this pressure? I thought we only had gravity. Sorry, suddenly we have several things. A moment ago, it was gravity or nothing. Now we've got buoyancy and pressure. What's all this other stuff you're talking about? What? A minute ago, it was gravity or nothing.
From one aberration to another. Every field.
I don't believe what I'm saying is contradicting what I'm saying.
No, but they're all aberrations. They're not proof. Because every time you can't really vary it.
Okay.
You can only compare it. You can only deduce it.
Could you explain to me in the flat Earth then?
It has nothing
why
to do
does
with
I'm asking your alternative explanation with the flat Earth. Why do things go down?
Well, it's a part of how the relative densities are and how they.
Hold on a second, Arwin.
right?
Why are you explaining things to him? Listen, why do I have to explain?
Why do you have to explain things? I mean, I've tried to explain my thing. Why can't you explain yours?
One second, sir. Why are you asking me to explain something for which I never made a claim for? What do you do? Do you just walk around aimlessly asking complete strangers to explain things that they haven't made claims for? Are you insane?
Okay, so you're saying that things don't fall to the ground.
Oh, so you're going to represent him with something he hasn't said as a straw
Well,
man
he
now?
just said, I don't make the claim.
So he didn't.
In the flat Earth, yes,
What's a
you can see
claim?
that things fall
What's
to
a
the ground.
claim?
Explain
You
it.
don't understand what a claim is. So someone on the panel, you, comes along and says, I understood Rumpus's theory about gravity. Oh, really? No, you didn't. That's your claim. We ripped it a new one. That doesn't mean suddenly you automatically ask us about random crap you want the answer for.
So you can't explain as to why things fall to the ground.
We
Or
don't
fall
need
down.
explanations. We don't need explanations or just so stories. We need validated scientific hypotheses. That's what we need. Any moron can give you an explanation about something, right? What separates morons from actual scientists is validated experiment accompanying that explanation, son. My word.
And with that, I'll say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!